My cancer had returned, and I lay in the hospital bed, clinging to my last breaths. The guy in the next bed asked me if I had any regrets in this life. I smiled weakly. Regrets? Of course. 7 years ago, that summer, I personally pushed my goddess, my light, the girl I loved most in this world, into an abyss. I pretended to be a burnout, trust fund playboy, with a bank card and a callus. I'm bored of you. Get out. I ended our 3-year relationship. Now, my only thought was to see her one last time before I died. Even if she was married, even if she had someone better by her side. I just wanted to know if she was living well. The door to the ward pushed open, and a familiar, cool silhouette walked in. Pinned to her white coat was an ID badge, attending physician, Dr. Elena Solis. In that moment, I forgot how to breathe. My regret, the love of my life, had become my attending physician. Lucas, I think this silver fox look is solid. It's flashy, fits your playboy vibe perfectly. My assistant, Danny, held up a wig, waving it in front of my face with a sycophantic grin. I leaned weakly against the pillows, lacking the strength to even lift my hand. The side effects of chemotherapy had tortured me into a ghost of my former self. My hair was falling out in clumps, and the pale, gaunt face in the mirror felt like a stranger's. Get lost. I twitched the corner of my mouth, my voice raspy. Do I look like I have the energy to go clubbing? Danny chuckled and picked up another one. How about this dark ash? Low profile, luxurious, sophisticated. I closed my eyes, too tired to deal with him. Choosing a wig was just an attempt to look less pathetic in front of my parents. 7 years ago, the day after high school graduation, I received my acceptance letter to Columbia University and a cancer diagnosis. Osteosarcoma. My father, a titan of industry, went gray overnight. My mother, usually the picture of elegance, fainted from crying. And me? I had only one thought. I couldn't drag Elena down. Elena, my girlfriend. We had been together since sophomore year, promised to go to the same college, live in the same city, build a home. She was so beautiful, like the cleanest breeze in summer. When she smiled, her eyes held stars. Her future was supposed to be brilliant, not spent wasting her youth in endless despair alongside a walking medicine cabinet. So, I directed the cruelest breakup in history. I revealed my identity as the heir to $1 billion fortune and, using the most flippant tone I could muster, told her she was just a boring pastime of my high school years. I still remember her eyes, filled with starlight, slowly dimming until they were dead silent. She raised her hand and slapped me with everything she had. Lucas Thorne, you bastard. Then she turned and walked away. Her silhouette was absolute. She didn't look back. I stood there, my face burning, my heart bleeding. I clenched the bank card in my palm, the prop I had intended to force on her to make her get out, but I never managed to hand it over. I was afraid that if I looked at her for 1 second longer, I wouldn't be able to let go. After that, I deleted all her contact info and followed my parents overseas, beginning a long and painful treatment. 7 years. A full 7 years. I survived on scraps of news about her I occasionally heard from friends. She got into the best medical school in the country, completed her MD-PhD program, and became the shining genius of her class. She didn't date. She threw herself entirely into her studies and research. Every time I heard about her, I felt my decision had been the right one. Now I was back. The cancer had recurred, more aggressive than 7 years ago. The doctor said I probably didn't have another 7 years. I lay in the best private hospital in New York, awaiting fate's final judgment. Mr. Thorne, your new attending physician is here. The nurse's voice rang from the doorway. I struggled to open my eyes. The door opened, and a tall, cool figure walked in. She wore a pristine white lab coat, her long hair meticulously pinned back, revealing a smooth forehead and an exquisite profile. Gold-rimmed glasses perched on her nose, and the eyes behind the lenses were indifferent and distant. Time seemed to freeze. I looked at her, and she looked at me. Those eyes I had missed for 7 years, etched into my bones, were now scrutinizing me calmly, as if looking at a complete stranger. The badge on her chest clearly printed her name. Attending physician, Elena Solis. My heart felt like it was being crushed by an invisible hand, hurting so much I couldn't breathe. I came back to see her one last time before I died. God seemed to have heard my prayer, but then played a massive joke on me. She was my doctor. The wig in Danny's hand dropped to the floor with a soft thud. His mouth hung open, looking from me to Elena, stammering, unable to form a word. El. Elena's gaze swept over my face without pausing for a second, as if I were just a case she needed to process. She walked to the bedside, picked up the chart hanging at the foot of the bed, her slender, pale fingers flipping through the pages, making a soft, rustling sound. Every sound was like a whip lashing my heart. Lucas Thorne, 30 years old. Recurrent osteosarcoma with multiple metastases to the liver and lungs. Her voice was as cool as water, without a ripple of emotion, as if reading a text that had nothing to do with her. I stared at her intensely, greedily tracing her features. 7 years later, she had shed her girlish naivety and become more mature, more dazzling, and much colder. Those eyes that used to be full of laughter when they looked at me now held only formulaic scrutiny. Starting today, I am taking over your treatment. She put down the chart, her gaze finally resting on me, but it was like looking at an inanimate object. Your condition is severe. I hope you are mentally prepared and will actively cooperate with the treatment. Cooperate? Of course I would. To see her a few more times, I would cooperate with anything. I forced a smile I thought looked dashing, though my voice was terribly hoarse. Dr. Solis, long time no see. I didn't expect you to remember me. I tried to use that flippant tone to mask the storm inside me. I couldn't let her see my fragility. I couldn't let her know that for 7 years, not a day went by that I didn't think of her. Elena pushed up her gold-rimmed glasses, the lenses reflecting a cold glint. Mr. Thorne is joking. It's hard to forget a special ex-boyfriend like you. She emphasized the word special, the sarcasm in her tone, like an ice-dipped knife plunging straight into my heart. The smile on my face froze. Right. A scumbag who used money to humiliate her and said he was bored of her was indeed special. Dr. Solis is now a top oncologist in the country. My little illness shouldn't be a problem in your hands, right? I changed the subject, trying to ease the suffocating atmosphere. Cancer is not a little illness, Mr. Thorne. Elena's tone remained icy. Furthermore, I am just a doctor, not God. I can only do my best, but I cannot guarantee the result. She paused, then added, also in the hospital, please call me Dr. Solis. Between us, aside from the doctor-patient relationship, there is nothing else. Drawing a line. She was anxious to draw a line with me. My heart felt another sharp sting. Of course, Dr. Solis. I complied immediately, though my voice trembled uncontrollably. Danny was watching anxiously from the side. He knew the whole truth. He knew how much pain I was in back then, and how I had suffered through these 7 years. Ms. Solis, no, Dr. Solis, our CEO, Lucas. Danny. I cut him off sharply. He couldn't say it. Absolutely couldn't let her know the truth. She was now a top young expert with a limitless future. I couldn't ruin her state of mind or affect her career because of a dying man. I was a jerk who had disappeared from her life for 7 years. I shouldn't have reappeared. Danny obeyed the order and shut his mouth instantly, though his eyes looking at me were full of worry and pity. Elena seemed not to notice the undercurrents between us. She simply continued in a businesslike manner. Next, I will arrange a comprehensive physical examination for you to reevaluate your condition and formulate a new treatment plan. Do you have any questions? I shook my head. She nodded and turned to leave. Elena. The name slipped out before I could stop myself. She paused but didn't look back, leaving me only her cold, resolute silhouette. Nothing. I finally deflated, my voice lowering. Thank you, Dr. Solis. Thank you for still being willing to treat a bastard like me. She didn't speak again and walked straight out of the ward. The moment the door closed, I couldn't hold it together anymore. I coughed violently, a heart-wrenching cough that felt like I was coughing up my lungs. Danny rushed over, patting my back, his eyes red. Lucas, why are you doing this? Tell her the truth. Let her know you're not a scumbag, that you did everything for her. I coughed until my vision went black, barely managing to catch my breath. And what good would that do? I smiled bitterly, blood seeping from the corner of my mouth. Make her suffer along with me? Or make her pity me? I, Lucas Thorne, even if I died, I would die with dignity. I didn't want her to see me in this pathetic state, and I certainly didn't want to use our past affection to gain her sympathy. But, no buts. I interrupted him, my eyes hardening. From now on, I am just her patient. Remember, not a word to her. Danny nodded heavily, tears in his eyes. For the next few days, Elena was like a precision instrument. She came for rounds twice a day, 8 a.m. and 4 p.m., punctual to the second. Every time, she was trailed by a flock of interns and nurses. She would ask about my condition in the most concise language, issue a string of medical orders, and the whole process wouldn't exceed 5 minutes. Her eyes never lingered on me for a second longer than necessary. The way she looked at me was no different from how she looked at the heart monitor in the room. Cold, objective, impersonal. And I was like a fledgling bird waiting to be fed. My greatest anticipation every day was these short 10 minutes. I could look at her openly, hear her voice, feel her presence, even if all she brought me was bone-chilling coldness. That morning, she came for rounds as usual. "How do you feel today? Any nausea or vomiting?" she asked without looking up, flipping through my chart. "I am okay." I tried to make my voice sound light. "Just no appetite." She hummed a response, writing something down. "Dr. Solis." I gather my courage to speak. "I heard you're the youngest chief physician here, recruited specifically from abroad. That's impressive." I just wanted to talk to her, even if it was this awkward small talk. The pen in her hand paused. She lifted her eyelids to look at me, a hint of imperceptible sarcasm in her eyes. "Mr. Thorne is well informed. However, whether I have achieved anything today seems to have nothing to do with you." "Of course it does," I blurted out. She raised an eyebrow, seemingly waiting for me to continue. I realized I had misspoken and quickly tried to cover. "I mean, if not for that slap you gave me back then to wake me up, I might still be muddling along as a trust fund baby, and I wouldn't have today's." Cough, cough. I wanted to say success, but looking at my ghostly appearance, I couldn't get the word out. The corner of Elena's mouth hooked into a faint, icy arc. "So, my slap takes the credit?" She put down the chart, crossed her arms, and looked at me with leisurely appraisal. "Should Mr. Thorne be thanking me then?" Yes, I should." I nodded hurriedly, like a schoolboy who made a mistake. "Thanks aren't necessary." She put away the cold smile and returned to her expressionless mask. "As long as Mr. Thorne cooperates with the treatment and pays the medical bills on time, that is the greatest support for my work." Money again. 7 years ago, I humiliated her with money. 7 years later, she used money to remind me of our relationship. An eye for an eye. Fair enough. My heart began to cramp again, but I forced a smile. Naturally, money isn't a problem. As long as Dr. Solis can cure me, no amount is an issue. "I told you, I am not God." She dropped the cold sentence and turned to the interns behind her. "That's all for rounds today. Follow me to the office to discuss this case." The group left in a grand procession. The room was left with just me and Danny. Danny looked at my pale face, hesitating to speak. "Lucas, don't be like this." "Dr. Solis, she just doesn't know the truth. She's angry." "I know." I closed my eyes, exhausted. Letting her vent is fine. It was what I owed her. In the afternoon, Danny walked in holding a thermos. "Lucas, I had the housekeeper make this specially organic bone broth. Drink some, build up your strength." The smell of grease made my stomach churn violently. I waved my hand frantically. "Take it away." "I don't want it." "Drink a little, please." "You haven't eaten properly in days," Danny persuaded earnestly. I said, "Take it away." I raised my voice, irritated. Just then, the door pushed open. Elena walked in holding a test report. She saw us struggling and frowned. "What's wrong?" "Dr. Solis, perfect timing." Danny looked like he saw a savior. "Please persuade Lucas. He won't eat anything. How can his body handle this?" Elena walked to the bedside, glanced at the thermos, then at my bloodless face. She reached out and pressed on my stomach. "Does it hurt here?" Her fingertips were slightly cool. Through the thin hospital gown, touching my skin, I froze. A long-lost, familiar electric current shot for her fingertips through my limbs instantly. My heart skipped a beat. "No, it doesn't hurt," I stammered. She pressed a few other spots on my abdomen before withdrawing her hand. "Gastrointestinal reaction caused by chemotherapy. It's normal," she said flatly. "Don't eat greasy food for now. Just drink some plain rice porridge." After speaking, she placed a report on the nightstand. "These are your new test results. Not ideal. The cancer cells are spreading faster than we anticipated." My heart sank heavily. So, I recommend immediately starting the second cycle of chemotherapy and increasing the dosage." Her tone carried no emotion, as if announcing a repair plan for a machine. Increasing the dosage. I had been through this once. I knew what it meant. It meant I would endure torture 10 times, 100 times worse than now. I might roll around in bed in agony, vomit until bile came up, or even die right on the treatment table. I looked at her, wanting to see a trace of pity or worry in those beautiful eyes. There was nothing, only a cold, professional calm. "Okay," I heard my dry voice say. "I'll listen to you, Dr. Solis." As long as it was her decision, even if she led me to hell, I would go willingly. The high-dose chemotherapy was a living hell. I felt like I'd been thrown into a tumble dryer. My insides were churning, the world spinning. Vomiting became routine. Eventually, even drinking water made me throw up. I dehydrated rapidly, thinning down to a bag of bones. Sometimes the pain was so unbearable that I couldn't control my suppressed groans. Whenever this happened, Danny, guarding my side, would turn red-eyed and curse himself over and over, saying he shouldn't have brought me back to the States. But I felt it was worth it, because every day Elena came. She personally checked my IVs, adjusted the medication dosages, and used her stethoscope to listen to my heart and breath. Her proximity was my only comfort in this boundless pain. That night, I woke up again from severe pain. Cold sweat soaked my gown. I curled up on the bed like a dying shrimp, trembling uncontrollably. I didn't want to disturb Danny. He had stayed up with me for several nights in a row. I struggled to reach the call button, but didn't even have the strength to lift my arm. Just as my consciousness was blurring, the ward door was gently pushed open. A slender figure walked in against the dim light of the hallway. It was Elena. She had changed out her white coat and wore a simple beige trench coat, her hair down. She looked less severe than during the day, softer. Why was she here so late? She walked to my bed, looked at my suffering, and her brow furrowed almost imperceptibly. "Is it bad?" she asked, her voice lower and softer than in the daytime. "Yeah." I gritted my teeth and squeezed a word out. She leaned down, reaching out to feel my forehead. Her palm was cool against my burning skin, incredibly soothing. I greedily enjoyed this moment of tenderness, wishing time could stop here. "You have a fever." She withdrew her hand, turned to the treatment cart, and expertly prepared an antipyretic injection. She walked toward me with the syringe and lifted the blanket covering my arm. When she saw the dense, bruised needle marks on my arm, the hand holding the needle trembled ever so slightly. My heart trembled with it. Was she feeling sorry for me? I extinguished the thought as soon as it sparked. Impossible. She hated me so much. How could she feel sorry for me? She quickly regained her composure and gave me the shot. The cool liquid entered my vein, and I felt the chill seem to disperse some of the heat and pain in my body. After the injection, she didn't leave immediately. She pulled up a chair and sat by my bed. "Why didn't you press the call button?" she asked. "Didn't want to bother anyone," I answered weakly. She was silent for a moment, seeming to organize her words. "Lucas," she suddenly called my name, not Mr. "Thorne, why did you come back to the States?" My heart jumped. Why was she asking this? Falling leaves return to their roots. I used the most cliché reason. "Is that so?" She countered coolly, no emotion discernible in her tone. "I thought someone like you would prefer the glittering world abroad." I heard the barb in her words. I smiled bitterly. I got bored, wanted a change of scenery. I had to continue playing the role of the fickle scumbag. She fell silent again. We stayed like that, one lying down, one sitting in the quiet night, neither speaking. I didn't know what she was thinking. I only knew that being in the same space with her, quietly breathing the air she existed in, was already a massive gift. I didn't know how much time passed before the fever reducer kicked in, and my consciousness began to fade. Before I plunged into complete darkness, I thought I heard a very light, very soft sigh, like a feather gently landing on the lake of my heart. When I woke up the next day, Elena was gone. But on a nightstand, there was a bowl of warm oatmeal and a sticky note stuck next to it. The handwriting was elegant and strong, her style. "Eat it." Just 2 words, but with a tone of command that allowed no refusal. Danny saw the oatmeal and nearly jumped with excitement. "Oh my God, Lucas, did Dr. Solis make this for you herself? Has she forgiven you?" I looked at the note, my feelings mixed. Forgiven? Impossible. This was probably just a doctor's basic responsibility toward her patient. I picked up the spoon and ate the oatmeal bite by bite. It was strange. It was just plain oatmeal, flavorless, yet it tasted sweeter than any delicacy I had ever eaten. After eating, I felt a bit of strength return. Later that morning, someone I hadn't expected appeared in my ward. Vanessa Sterling, my nominal fiancée. Our families were old money friends, and this engagement was set by the grandfathers over a handshake years ago. After I went abroad, she took over the Sterling family business and became a famous Ice Queen CEO in the business world. Apart from the engagement, we had almost no interaction. She looked down on me, the idle trust fund kid, and I didn't want to provoke her glacial temper. Today she wore a tailored black power suit, exquisite makeup, and 4-inch heels, radiating intensity. "Lucas Thorne, you actually came back?" She opened with a rude interrogation. "The board is about to explode, and here you are, playing dead in a hospital?" I couldn't be bothered to explain to her. "If you have something to say it." "Something?" She sneered. "The biggest issue is you. Grandfather sent me to notify you that you must attend the engagement party next month. Otherwise, he'll revoke all your shares." "Engagement?" I frowned. When did I ever agree to engagement? "It's not up to you." Vanessa's tone was full of disdain. "Just be a good little heir. Someone like you can't handle company business anyway. She looked at me like I was mud on the wall. I felt a surge of anger. If I had any strength, I would have thrown her out of my room. Just then, the door opened again. Elena walked in with two nurses. Seeing Vanessa, she paused for a moment, then regained her calm, acting as if she didn't know her at all. Dr. Solis, perfect timing. Vanessa saw Elena and immediately switched to a high and mighty attitude, pointing at me. Tell him, when will this illness be cured? Don't delay my engagement party next month. Elena's gaze circled between Vanessa and me, finally landing on me. Something flashed in her eyes, too fast for me to catch. And this is? She asked me, her tone flat. My fiancée, Vanessa Sterling. I introduced her, bracing myself. I saw Elena's knuckles turn white as she gripped the chart when I said the word fiancé. So, Mr. Thorne's fiancé. Elena nodded and turned to Vanessa, her tone remaining professionally cold. Ms. Sterling, Mr. Thorne's condition is severe and requires absolute rest. Emotional agitation is ill-advised. As for when he will recover, I cannot give you a definite answer. Whether he can attend the engagement party depends on his physical condition at that time. What do you mean you can't give a definite answer? Vanessa frowned in displeasure. Is this how you doctors work? Let me tell you, if anything happens to him that affects the merger between our families, none of you can afford the consequences. Her words were full of threat and arrogance. I was so angry I wanted to curse, but a violent fit of coughing cut me off. Ms. Sterling. Elena's voice suddenly turned freezing. This is a hospital, not your company. Please watch your language. She took a step forward, seamlessly blocking the space in front of my bed in a protective stance. My patient needs rest right now. If you're here to visit, you may leave now. If you are here to affect his condition, I will have to call security. Her back was slender but upright. Even though she was talking to the scumbag's fiancé, I felt she was protecting me. Vanessa was likely experiencing being shut down like this for the first time. Her face went pale, then red. She had probably checked Elena's background and knew the Solis family had social standing equal to or higher than hers, so she didn't dare truly tear into her. She glared viciously at me, then at Elena blocking me, and finally stomped out on her heels in a rage. The ward returned to silence. Thank you, I said softly to Elena's back. Don't thank me. She turned around, her expression cold again. I'm just fulfilling my duty as an attending physician to protect my patient from outside interference. That's all. She paused, then added, Also congratulations, Mr. Thorne. Your fiancée is very beautiful. You two are a good match. With that, she didn't look at me again and turned to leave. That congratulations was like a needle pricking my heart. Was she blessing me or mocking me? Vanessa's appearance was like a stone thrown into the dead water of my heart, stirring a ripple. I discovered that Elena didn't seem entirely business-only with me. For example, her rounds became longer. Sometimes she would stand by my bed, watching the medicine drip in the 4-bottle drop-by-drop for 10 minutes. She didn't speak, and I didn't dare to, afraid to break the rare tranquility. Also, she started managing my diet. Whenever Danny brought those greasy supplements, she ruthlessly blocked them at the door. Replacing them were light, nutritious liquid meals she had the cafeteria make specifically for me. Although she claimed it was doctor's orders every time, I preferred to believe there was something else mixed in. That day, after finishing radiation, I was completely drained, lying in bed unable to move. Danny had gone to handle discharge paperwork. I was alone in the room. I was terribly thirsty and tried to reach the water glass on the nightstand, but my arm was weak and useless. After a few tries, instead of getting the glass, I knocked it over. Crash! The glass shattered on the floor. I closed my eyes in frustration. Just then, the door opened. Elena walked in. She saw the shards on the floor and my pathetic state, but said nothing. First, she expertly cleaned up the mess, then poured a glass of warm water and walked to my bedside. Instead of handing me the glass, she brought the straw to my lips. Drink some water. Her voice was soft, gentle. I obediently took the straw and drank a few mouthfuls. The sweet, warm water flowed down my parched throat, soothing me. Thank you, I rasped. She didn't respond, just pulled a few tissues and gently wiped the water from the corner of my mouth. Her movements were tender, careful, as if treating a fragile treasure. My heart rate accelerated uncontrollably. I couldn't help calling her name. Her wiping motion paused, and she looked up at me. Our eyes met. In the depths of hers, I saw a flash of pain and struggle. I summoned all my courage. Do you still hate me? She was silent. The long silence almost swallowed all my hope. Just when I thought she wouldn't answer, she spoke, her voice carrying an imperceptible tremor. Hate. She smiled self-deprecatingly. Lucas, you overestimate yourself. Why would I hate a stranger? A stranger? That word was sharper than any blade. Then why? I pressed. Why are you so good to me? Bringing food, blocking Vanessa, taking care of me so meticulously now. If we were truly strangers, why do this? I told you, I'm just fulfilling a doctor's duty. She avoided my gaze, straightened up, and resumed her cold demeanor. Rest well. Stop overthinking. She turned to leave. I don't know where I got the strength, but I grabbed her wrist. Her wrist was thin, cool like jade. She stiffened all over, as if electrocuted, trying to pull away. But I held on tight, refusing to let go. Elena, look at me, I demanded stubbornly. She finally turned her head to look at me again. Her eyes were red. Lucas, what exactly do you want? The ice in her voice finally cracked, revealing endless exhaustion and pain. It's been 7 years. Why did you have to come back? Is it fun for you to come back and torture me? I'm not. You're not what? She interrupted me, tears finally slipping out uncontrollably. Are you going to tell me again that you're bored and wanted a change of scenery? Lucas, let me tell you, I'm not a pet you can call and dismiss at will. I, Elena Solis, have my pride. I didn't. I denied urgently. I never thought that. Then tell me, why did you do it back then? She almost screamed the question. Tell me what? Seeing her break down, my heart hurt so much it felt like it was shattering. The truth was right on my lips, but I couldn't say a word. I couldn't say it. I couldn't tell her I was dying. I couldn't let her life be shadowed by me again. I am sorry. 1,000 words merged into just those two. I don't want your apology. She flung my hand off with force, tears streaming down her face. Lucas, the biggest regret of my life is meeting you. With that, she ran out of the room without looking back. I reached out, wanting to catch her, but grasped only cold air. I lay back weakly on the bed, staring at the ceiling. From the corner of my eye, warm liquid slowly slid down. Elena, I'm sorry. Truly, I'm sorry. After that argument, Elena didn't come to my room for several days. Another deputy chief of the department took over her rounds. My world seemed to turn black and white again. The daily treatments became harder to endure. Without that anticipation, even the pain seemed amplified 1,000 times. Danny watched, anxious. Lucas, maybe I should go explain everything to DR. Solis, if this goes on, forget your body, your spirit will collapse first. You are forbidden to go. I was resolute. She said her biggest regret was meeting me. If that was the case, why disturb her with the truth and make her sad for someone she regretted? Let it be. Let it be like this. Let her keep hating me, and then completely forget me. That afternoon, Danny went to get my medicine. I was alone in the room, drifting in and out of sleep. In my daze, I felt someone walk in. I assumed it was Danny and didn't open my eyes. The person walked to my bedside and stood there for a long time. I could feel a burning gaze fixed on my face. I finally opened my eyes impatiently. Danny, you? My voice stuck in my throat when I saw who it was. It was Elena. I didn't know how long she had been there, just standing quietly by my bed, staring at me unblinkingly. Her eyes were swollen red like walnuts, and there were wet tear tracks on her face. In her hand, she tightly clutched an old, yellowed notebook. My heart sank violently. That notebook was my journal. It was the diary I wrote after my cancer diagnosis back then. It recorded all my fears, despair, and that painful decision to break up. I had locked it in the study of the old family house when I went abroad. How'd she get it? Why? She spoke, her voice hoarse beyond recognition, every word seemingly squeezed from her chest. Why didn't you tell me? She opened the notebook to a specific page, pointed at the words, and tears surged again. My love, Elena, seeing these words is like seeing me. When you read this letter, I may no longer be in this world. Please forget my departure without goodbye. I'm not heartless. I love you too deeply. I have a terminal illness and do not wish to drag down your brilliant youth. I cannot repay you in this life. I only wish for you a future of brocade, a life without worry. Lucas, my final words. She read every word, choking with sobs. Say it. Lucas, why are you so cruel? What right do you have to decide for me? What right do you have to assume I would be happy without you? She smashed the diary onto my chest, grabbed my collar with both hands, and shook me violently. Do you know how I got through these 7 years? I hated you. I hated you every day. I studied desperately. I climbed the ladder desperately, just so one day I could stand in front of you and tell you that without you, I lived better. But it's all fake. I'm not okay at all. Not a day goes by that I don't miss you. I hate you because I love you even more. Her words hit my heart like a heavy hammer. I was stunned, let her shake me, unable to speak. So, she knew everything. So for 7 years, she had suffered in longing and pain just like me. So, what I thought was for her own good was actually the cruelest injury to her. I was wrong. I was terribly wrong. I am sorry. I reached out a trembling hand, wanting to touch her face to wipe her tears. I don't want to hear sorry, she cried out and bit down hard on my shoulder. She used so much force I could feel the sharp pain and the warm spread of blood. But I didn't flinch. This pain was nothing compared to the hurt I had caused her. She bit for a long time until her strength ran out. Then she let go and collapsed on my chest, wailing, like a child lost for 7 years who finally found home. I used all my strength to lift my arms and gently wrap them around her. Imsuri. I buried my face in her hair, smelling her familiar scent, and my tears finally broke the dam. I was wrong. I am sorry. Bastard. You bastard. She cried in my arms, gasping for breath. I could only repeat that pale, powerless, I'm sorry, over and over. When Danny returned, he saw this scene. He froze in the doorway, the medicine bag dropping to the floor with a clatter. Then, he quietly backed out and thoughtfully closed the door for us. In that moment, I felt light pouring back into my broken life. My Elle was back. The day after the truth came out, Elena didn't wear that distant white coat. She changed into a soft beige sweater, her hair loose. She wore no makeup, and her eyes were still a bit puffy, but she felt incredibly close. She held a bowl of fish porridge she had made herself, sitting by my bed, feeding me spoonful by spoonful. Open. Her tone carried a gentleness that allowed no refusal. I opened my mouth obediently like a well-behaved child. The savory porridge slid into my stomach, warm and comforting. Is it good? She asked. I nodded heavily. Good. Anything you make is good. She rolled her eyes at me, but the corners of her mouth couldn't help curving up. That familiar, playful expression made me stare entranced. What are you looking at? Never seen a beautiful woman? She got embarrassed by my staring, a blush rising on her cheeks. I have, I smiled, but I only see you. 7 years ago, our relationship was full of this sweet banter. Now, everything seemed to have returned to the past. No, better than the past, because we both understood the weight of each other in our lives. Smooth talker, she scolded lightly and fed me another spoonful. Eat up. You need strength for the treatment. Mentioning treatment, the smile on my face faded slightly. Elle, I took her hand. My illness. Leave your illness to me. She squeezed my hand back, her eyes so determined they calmed me. Lucas, listen. 7 years ago, you didn't give me a choice. This time, I'm choosing. I choose you living. Her voice wasn't loud, but it was resolute. I will use everything I've learned to snatch you back from the Reaper. You have to promise me, for my sake, try one more time, okay? I looked at the light in her eyes, the light I once wanted to protect with my life. Now, this light was shining back on me. What else could I say? I could only nod heavily. Okay, for her, even if it meant climbing a mountain of knives or a sea of fire, I would go through it. From that day on, Elena became my exclusive caregiver. She took a long leave of absence from the hospital to stay by my side, 24 hours a day. She personally formulated a new, more precise treatment plan for me and contacted top experts abroad for remote consultations. She accompanied me to every chemotherapy session. When I was in the most pain, she held my hand, sang to me, and told jokes. She cooked all kinds of nutritious and delicious meals, coaxing and forcing me to eat one more bite. Under her care, my body miraculously improved day by day. The vomiting decreased, and the pain became bearable. I could even get out of bed and walk a few steps in a room with her support. That day, Danny was reporting on the company. Lucas, the new game our company launched last month, is viral everywhere. The stock has skyrocketed for 10 days straight. Now there's a trending topic on Twitter. Hashtag Lucas Thorne is still in bed, calling you the CEO who wins by doing absolutely nothing. I listened and just smiled. These worldly successes had long lost their meaning to me. All my wealth, all my glory, couldn't compare to the girl in front of me, head bowed, seriously peeling an apple for me. Elena finished peeling the apple, cut it into small pieces, pricked one with a toothpick, and held it to my lips. Here, mister. Lazy CO, get some vitamins. She teased. I opened my mouth and ate it. It was sweet. You're still the best. I held her hand and kissed it. You are my whole world. She blushed, pulled her hand back, and glared at me playfully. Just then, the door to the ward was pushed open at an untimely moment. Vanessa was back. Seeing our intimacy, she froze in place. You too. As you can see, I said lazily. I'm being affectionate with my girlfriend. Do you need something, Ms. Sterling? Vanessa's face turned ugly instantly. She probably hadn't expected that in just a few days, the relationship between Elena and me would undergo such an earth-shattering change. Lucas, don't forget, I am your fiancé, she said through gritted teeth. Oh, I raised an eyebrow. I don't recall ever agreeing to that engagement. If Ms. Sterling wants to get married so badly, there are plenty of young talents in New York. Why waste time on a dying man like me? You. Vanessa was speechless with rage. Ms. Sterling. Elena stood up and looked at her calmly. Lucas is now my patient, and also the love of my life. Our affairs are no concern of yours. As for that engagement, I imagine the Thorne and Sterling families will find an appropriate solution. Her tone was calm, but carried an undeniable authority. Vanessa looked at our tightly clasped hands, then at my pale but spirited face, her eyes complicated. She wasn't stupid. She likely guessed what had happened. Fine. Well played, Dr. Solis. She sneered and turned to leave. But her silhouette looked somewhat panicked and lonely. You always provoking her. Elena poked my forehead helplessly. I'm only good to you. I grabbed her hand and rubbed against it like a spoiled child. Sunlight poured through the window, warm on us. I knew my future would be like this, full of sunshine and warmth. Because my light had returned. Since Vanessa was invited out that time, my ward became much quieter. The Thorne and Sterling families quickly dissolved the engagement. My parents had no objections. In fact, they were incredibly relieved that Elena and I were back together. My mom even held Elena's hand, calling her good daughter-in-law, crying and saying the Thorne family owed her a debt that could never be repaid. Elena just smiled and comforted my mom, saying everything was in the past. I knew it wasn't just past. The scars of those 7 years were carved into both our lives. But we were willing to use countless future 7 years to slowly heal them. Under Elena's careful nursing, my body recovered better and better. The side effects of chemo seemed less terrifying. That day, Elena supported me as we walked in the small garden downstairs. The late autumn sun was warm and comfortable. Oh, look at that cat. I pointed to an orange tabby sunbathing nearby. Yeah, so chubby, Elena laughed. It looks like it's watching us. It is. It's envying us. Envying us for what? Envying us for escaping death and still being together. As she said it, she turned her head and gently kissed my cheek. I froze. There were patients and families coming and going around us. She actually kissed me in public. I felt my face burn instantly. You? What? Only you get to be the smooth talker. I can't make a move. She blinked at me playfully. Not far away, a few passing nurses saw this and covered their mouths, squealing quietly. OMG, Dr. Solis is so alpha. Mr. Thorne is blushing. That's adorable. Hearing the whispers, my face turned redder, but my heart bubbled with sweetness. I pulled her into my arms and kissed her, ignoring everything. This time I took the lead. I wanted the whole world to know that this woman I loved to my bones was mine. We kissed like no one was watching until we were both breathless. You bastard. Elena punched me lightly, her face as red as a ripe apple. But I grinned like a fool. The days that followed were pure bliss. Elena played chess with me, watched movies, and read my favorite poetry. When she was tired, I massaged her shoulders. Though I didn't have much strength, she enjoyed it every time. We were like the most ordinary couple, enjoying this hard-won peace and sweetness. Danny and the company executives occasionally visited. Every time, they were respectful to me, and even more reverent to Elena, calling her boss lady sweetly. They brought documents, but I usually just glanced at them and waved them away to handle it themselves. I trust you guys. This was my lying flat philosophy. Leave professional matters to professionals. I just needed to control the general direction and then take good care of my love. One day, Danny brought news. Vanessa's company was facing a huge financial crisis due to a major investment error and was on the brink of bankruptcy. The Sterling family wants our help, but I refused, Danny said. Lucas, about this. What do you think? I looked at Elena. She was peeling a tangerine for me and said, without looking up, I don't understand business. You decide. I smiled. This was what I wanted. Unconditional trust. Danny, I said, business has its rules. We aren't a charity. However, you can acquire those quality assets she holds in my private name. Consider it. For the sake of old times, leaving her a way out, I wasn't a saint. I just didn't want my life with Elena to be disturbed by irrelevant people and things. Vanessa's ending was her own choice. My future was only Elena. After staying in the hospital for nearly half a year, I finally waited for my latest test report. Elena held those few, thin sheets of paper, her hands trembling. I was more nervous than she was, my heart in my throat. She took a deep breath, opened the report, and read it word for word. Time passed second by second. Each second felt as long as a century. Finally, she looked up at me. Her eyes were filled with tears, but her face bloomed with an incredibly brilliant smile. "Lucas," she choked out. We did it. The cancer cells in your body are all gone." Boom! My brain went blank. I was cured. I really escaped from the Reaper? I looked at Elena, and she looked at me. We laughed, yet tears flowed. We hugged each other tightly, as if to merge the other into our own flesh and blood. "I love you, El. I love you too, Lucas." The day I was discharged, the sun was perfect. I took off the hospital gown I had worn for half a year and changed into a crisp suit. Although I was still thin, my spirit was better than ever. Elena stood beside me wearing a white dress, beautiful as a fairy. At the hospital entrance, a row of black Rolls-Royces was waiting. Danny stood with all the company executives in front of the cars, bowing to us in unison. "Welcome home, Chairman. Welcome home, Boss Lady." The spectacle drew the attention of countless passers-by. I held Elena's hand and accepted it all calmly. From now on, I no longer needed to hide my identity nor disguise my feelings. I wanted to give the person I loved the best things in the world. "Lucas." Elena suddenly stopped and looked up at me. You still owe me something." "What?" She stood on tiptoes and whispered in my ear, "A wedding." I smiled. I swept her up into my arms, and amidst her surprised cry, walked steadily toward the motorcade. "As you command, my queen." Half a year later, we held a grand wedding on a private island closed to the public. No media was invited, only our closest family and friends. My parents and my in-laws sat in the front row, grinning from ear to ear. Danny and my subordinates cheered the loudest from the audience. I wore a white tuxedo, standing under an arch made of countless flowers, watching my bride in her pure white wedding dress walking toward me step by step. Behind her was the blue sea and sky. In her eyes, there was me. I knelt on one knee and put the ring I had prepared for 7 years on her finger. "Ms. Elena Solis, are you willing to marry me? Let me use the rest of my life to make up for my mistakes, and let me use my life to love you and protect you." She cried like a pear blossom bathed in rain, but nodded vigorously. "Ido." I stood up and kissed my bride. This time, there would be no more separation, no more pain. Only love and eternity.